Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the God Theory Podcast. This is episode 14. 14, right? 14, yes. And we're going to be talking about an article that's been going around. I can't help but smile just even as I'm introducing it. This one is so bad. Like, I read a lot of crap. We all have. All of us. We've all come across these articles that, like, you read it and you're like, I guess like, some of us are like, I can remember thinking like that and I'm embarrassed. Other people are like, I don't even know.
How do you put your mind in this mindset?
That's the worst. Yeah. And yeah, this one. So the title of this one, it's on the website biblicalgenderroles.com. So you know that.
Great URL, biblicalgenderroles.com.
Yep. And the even the picture. So most websites have like a picture at the top and they say the name. Even the picture is this guy, and he's in his pajamas. The girl's in her pajamas, or the lady, the man.
She's having none of it. She's got her arms crossed, looking very upset.
She's looking kind of away, and she's like, "Oh," she's so upset. And he's look at him. If that isn't the face and voice of reason, yeah, he's like,
got
hey.
the just the perfect amount of Jesus scruff, like an almost goatee coming in.
Yeah, and
his
face
very clean cut. Otherwise, like short hair.
His face is serenity and reason. Her face is just raw emotion and refusal. Yes. And I'm just.
And what's the name of this article?
8 steps to confront your wife's sexual refusal. Now, for me, this would be real quick. Step 1, ask her what's up. Step 2, take her answer. And then you're good.
Yeah, but no, there's 8 steps if you're Christian and you're following biblical gender roles. And this is great. This is. Oh, it's the very first sentence like just sets the tone. Listen to this. How should you as a husband handle it when your wife directly refuses to have sex without a valid reason?
Valid. I love that.
You gotta have a valid reason. You want to have sex? What's your valid reason? It better be valid. It can't just be because you don't feel like it.
The next question is there anything a Christian husband can do about this? Yeah, no. Like, if your wife doesn't want to have sex, first of all, valid reason? Wow. Like, just... It's not up to you to determine if it's valid, although that he does suggest that. He says that, hey, and I remember coming from this point of view, and there was a time where I would get down on this. I'd be like, yeah, that's a good point. And it's like, just prayerfully, go to God about this and determine whether what she's saying is true and if it's a good reason. And, that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. But if you're a Christian, that makes sense in some situations. But, like, I don't know, if your son is telling you, let me see if I'm a Christian. Your son's telling you that he's not having sex with his girlfriend or something, and you're this Christian dad, and you're like, I got to figure this out, pray about it. But when your wife's telling you she doesn't want to have sex and giving you a reason, there's no valid or invalid.
It's just she doesn't want to have sex. That's a valid reason in and of itself.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. Like, oh my gosh,
you're already putting the burden of proof on her for saying, wait a minute, why don't you want to have
why
sex?
Why not? Yeah.
Is it a good reason or a bad reason?
And I get it. I mean, like, it's okay to be like, why not? Like for example, if I'm like, hey, you're looking pretty hot. You got him about 30 seconds. I'm just kidding. I was like, you want to go back in the room and set the kids up with a movie or something? And if she's like, no, I'm like, oh. If I'm like really excited, I'll be like, oh man, really? Is there anything? Is there anything I could, or I'll be like, oh well, I'll massage you or something. Like that doesn't really get her going, but whatever. I'll try to like sweeten the deal. Right. And then like, a lot of times she's like, oh okay,
storm or something, really get her going.
Yeah. Or like certain foreplay. Like every couple has their thing, right? And I'll be like, oh yeah, well I'll do that crazy thing you like, just like girls will say that too. And if my wife's trying to talk me into it, and then I'm like, and then it's like, oh, but if they're like, no, I'm just not interested, I don't want to talk about it, then it's like, oh, okay, then that's it. There's no like why. No, there's no serious why.
You do not. That's not the answer you give her. There are actually 8 steps that you should do if she refuses you sex.
First of which being you prayerfully ask God, is she legit? Is this legit?
He's very careful to start this article with caveats too. Like he's got it in bright red. He's like, I'm not saying that you should rape your wife. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you have the right under biblical law as well as American law to reason with your wife and try to convince her, even grudgingly, to yield yourself to you.
Grudgingly.
He says even grudgingly. Like that. Okay, I'm not like the most. I have not had sex with a lot of women, but let me tell you something about what gets me going. The word grudgingly, that's kind of a boner killer for me. Like if she's just like, okay, fine. Like I don't feel like I'm that much in the mood anymore.
Yeah. It's like if I was like, Dave, will you play StarCraft with me? And you're like, I'm not interested. And I'm like, come on, man, play the game. It's my birthday. Come on, let's play it. And you're like, Fine, I'll play it. Then I'll be like, never mind. I'd want you to enjoy it. It's not worth it. Or whatever. Like, it's the same sort of thing. Like, I don't know who can go through with that and be like, all right, like,
grudgingly, boing.
They're like, fine, but I'm keeping all my clothes on and be wearing a moo-moo. It's like, yeah, like, I don't.
Doesn't matter. Still had sex.
Yeah, still had sex. Like, I don't know. You know what? There's so many answers to this. Like,
he even says, like, it's fine. Like, get her grudgingly. Like, that's still within your rights as a Christian.
Oh, and I like how he says, for all the, and he puts it in capitals, or capital, and he puts quote unquote, rape accusers out there, especially ones that are hurling applications of domestic violence laws at me. Your laws don't matter here. No, it doesn't say it.
Yeah,
I've written a special post
for you called The Frustrated Feminist Wife, which is worth its own episode. Wow.
I love it when somebody's like, it looks like there's a fire. Let me grab this bottle of gasoline and throw it all over it. Because then I'm like, dude, there's
so much going on here. How do you become a feminist and also a Christian? Like, I don't understand why women are even religious. Like, they're more religious, right? Like, in my experience, I don't know the data is, but in my experience, women leave religion less often than men do.
Yeah, I saw some numbers on that at one point. It was like 5 years ago, but yeah, I saw something about that. There's more men atheists, at least saying I'm an atheist.
Yeah. So but I don't know how, like, I don't know how gay people are Christians. I don't know how black people are Mormons. Like, there's a lot of, like, religion treats everyone kind of shitty, right? But white straight males, it treats the best of the shitty people that are being mistreated. So I just don't understand. Should we just get into these 8 steps? Because these are great.
Yes.
Fantastic. What's step 1?
Oh, wait. No, hold on. There was some good stuff in the kind of the lead up. What was it? Oh. Yes. Oh, no, that was not worth it. Well, basically, he's leaning on Paul, right? Paul writing. I don't know why Paul thought that he was celibate. Why he thought that he had any right to talk about this.
Paul is just pseudo Paul, right? Like, they don't think it was actually Paul. Yeah. It's just someone else who's like, you know what? I want my wife to shut up in church, and she's not. So we're to say Paul wrote this part: "Women shut up in church." Signed Paul. Yeah. There you go. Now it's in the Bible.
And Paul was just, he's one of these guys, at least the books that we have that say that written by Paul that made it through all the canon. The guy was just opinionated, and he had no right to be talking about any of this. He's like, listen, if you want to get your church in order, here's how to do it. And they're like, were you ever in charge of a church? He's like, not once. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, and
killed a lot of Jews, killed a lot of Christians when I was a Jew.
Let me tell you about slave owning. You own slaves? Nope. Okay. All right. Weird. Okay. And then let me tell you about sex. I'm going to tell you a lot about sex. Have you ever had sex? Not once. All right. So here's how it works. I don't know. But anyway, he's drawing from Paul is all I'm saying, or the books given by Paul.
Right. Well, Paul wrote a majority of the New Testament, so it's fair to, like, lean on him, but he was kind of a dick, so who cares? But yeah. Step 1, what do? Your wife is refusing you sex. She has no valid reason. She's not on her period. She is not what's another valid reason? She's not that's it. That's it. Valid. That's the only valid reason. So,
wait, is that it? I guess. Okay, so what would they say? What would he say? I guess that would be
a valid reason to not have sex with you. I don't know. The fact that this article exists makes me think that that's kind of a red herring.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a valid reason? Like, let's say she's like sick.
Well, biblically, she can't have sex with you if she's unclean. So that's a valid reason. Like, if she's on her period, she needs to, like, leave the camp, go cleanse herself.
Okay. Yeah. But step 1, I love this. What's step 1, David?
Oh my God. Okay, here's a verb that nobody that's not a Christian ever uses. Rebuke her privately. You have to rebuke her privately.
Dude, what is rebuking? What is it?
Rebuking. It's where you have a authority and someone else is underneath you, authority-wise, and you tell them, no, you are doing the wrong thing. Bad dog. Like, you can rebuke your dog. Like, that's fair. I don't feel bad about rebuking a dog. Yeah. I feel like I'm above my dog. Yeah. Your wife, though. Yeah. Like, rebuke, when do you hear the word rebuke outside of a Christian context?
Okay, so rebuke is just whenever. Okay, so somebody searches in the Bible. We do things. We figure out why we do things after we do them, right? Or we justify why we're about to do something after we've already decided to do that. All neuroscience and psychology shows that that's true. We make the decision, and then we say I'm going to do this because of the scripture of blank, right? So you're never thinking through the scriptures, reading through them all in your head, and being like, "There's one that's going to motivate my next move," right? So what happens is they're drawing a word in after they've already decided to act like a dick. And rebuke just means I'm finna act like a dick, but I'm gonna use a biblical word for it, so it validates it, right? So rebuke. So just be a dick, but do it in private. You do it in
So
private.
here's what he says: rebuke your wife's sin to her in private. This assumes you've already, on several occasions, tried to speak gently to her about this issue. So we're past gently now. We're
Oh
rebuking her
God.
sternly. You have tried time and time again to find out if there's anything you can help her with and anything you can do different. Different. That's not an adverb. That's an adjective.
Does
Okay,
this work?
sorry. That's my grammar. This
Does
assumes
this work?
out all health problems and or other mental problems, and she simply listen to this. She simply has a stubborn and willful attitude towards sex and marriage, and she does not think she needs to change. Stubborn and willful attitude. That's something you talk about with pets, with dogs, with children, not with equals. You don't talk about like, oh, Jeremiah, you got a stubborn and willful attitude about this podcast.
Yeah, I don't like. Technically, you both do if you disagree. You're both being stubborn, and you both have a will, right? That you're trying to put forward. So you're both
her.
to rebuke her. What is it? Does that even work? Like, okay, so if I was like Amy, so if I was this guy who owns this website, and I was like, Amy, I imagine he asked something like this: I'd like to not fornicate. I would like to have missionary sex tonight, if that is okay with you. How about 7:30? And she's like,
well, your vagina be moistened enough for a missionary style at that point.
If not, well, you know how to get yourself ready, because that is not my biblical duty. And then I'm like, and at 7:30 and approximately 7:35 disrobing, and then 7:36 penetration, 7:37 we're done. Will you be down for that? And she's like, no. And then I'm like, what do I say? And I'm like, you need to get your shit together. I'm rebuking you right now. Is she like, okay, good point. I'll be ready to go.
I'm sorry. I don't
Does
know.
that work?
Like, it feels like you have to have a very low opinion of herself. And to be fair, Christianity does teach people to kind of hate themselves a little bit, right? Like, you're fallen, you're a sinful nature, and especially if you're a woman, like, you're also below your husband. Eve was the one to take the fruit, so women are just shitty from here on out.
That's not even funny, because that's true. Like, this would work with someone who had a very low opinion of himself, so that's pretty sad.
Nietzsche called it a slave mentality, and there's something to it. Like, Christians tend to be kind of down on themselves. Like, I've got a friend who she's cool. She thinks that humanity is fallen, but also that there's grace, and so that we use grace to get over it. So every act of charity, every act of kindness, that's grace stepping in. And I'm like, wait a minute, Christian friend. I am an atheist. I should have the lower view of humanity, right? But I don't attribute every good thing to an external force like you do. Like, I think humans are good and bad. You just think we're bad and God makes us good. That seems like a more cynical way of viewing reality.
It's true. Kind of necessary, though, if you need someone, you make someone require you.
Right.
Then,
like, if you're going to create a problem and say God is the solution, you have to make sure that we know that we're kind of shitty without him.
Yeah, the abusive husband thing. Like, you're nothing without me. So she never leaves.
So that's step one. What if that doesn't work?
Oh, well, then you told your wife that she's a piece of shit. Now do it in front of friends. So next one is rebuke her before witnesses, which was advice given by, Paul about, like, if someone in your church is fucking up, right? Let's say someone's like taking meth or something or whatever. I can't remember his exact example. I don't even think there was one given in the Bible, and he's like, hey, you talk to this Christian brother and you're like, dude, stop fucking up. And he's like, no, I'm going to keep fucking up. And you're like, it's not just me, man. Here's some of your friends. It's an intervention. Stop fucking up, man. Like, you don't have an intervention with your wife about sex. You're like, she walks in, she's like, what the hell is this? And you're like, welcome home, honey. This is all our friends.
Like, all of your friends.
You haven't gone down on me in 2 weeks. And they're all upset about it. Like,
yes.
Why are all your friends upset about it? Well, I told them about it, and they're upset that you didn't do it. So you go down on me now?
And I'm not making this up. This is word for word. If she is still defiant after rebuking her privately, take her to a Christian marriage counselor, or maybe you're right. But it gets worse. Take her to a Christian marriage counselor, because secular marriage counselors would make her think she has her own rights or her own opinions.
Don't get in there with them.
Yeah, get a Christian marriage counselor, or maybe even a sex therapist if she is willing to go.
This is if she is even willing to go.
This is if she is even willing to go. Because she's so shitty, she probably isn't even willing to go. But if she is...
This guy already knows all about your wife, whoever the reader is, the intended reader. He knows how she gets. He knows how she acts.
Into these hysterics and...
Literal sexism. You're literally saying because she's a woman, she's going to be like this, I'm pretty sure. This is if she is even willing to go.
And look at this word, defiant. Like, that is such a word you don't use again.
Wow.
when describing an equal. Again, this is a very submissive, dominant kind of language. This is something you describe a subordinate, right? Like a private and you're a lieutenant, or a child and you're a parent, or a dog and you're a pet owner. You do not describe your wife as defiant. Like, what is she defiant against? Your authority? I can't even understand this mindset. This is amazing to me.
She's a human that has wants and desires, and maybe you're not part of it because you can't fuck her.
Because you're a fucking asshole.
Sorry, but like in my experience, if you're doing it okay, they're probably okay with it. And there can be medical things, there could be mental things, and all those things can be worked
valid
through,
reasons,
usually through some kind of therapy. Yeah, real valid reasons. Yeah, but real reasons why she may be not interested in it, or she may just be someone who just does not have a sex drive. There are plenty of things, conditions that can do that.
You would know before you married her, but unfortunately in Christianity, you're not allowed to have sex until you're married. So it's kind of just like hopefully our libidos match up.
Yeah, and I'm imagining there's something wrong with her sales pitch if she's not like at all interested ever. Like, I can understand there's plenty of times where she's not gonna be in the mood and you may be Rendy, or vice versa, like where she's like, oh man, you look pretty good, and I'm like, I feel kind of sick.
And again, I'm speculating, but I don't know if rebuking defiant people makes them more in the mood. Does that work?
Yeah. No. All data shows no, but hey, data, what do they know? So the next one is this is even better. So you've already done an intervention about your
privately
wife not going down on you
in front of your friends. What's step 3?
It's time to bring the whole church in now.
The whole church, all of her peers, really, her whole social network.
Yep. If you allow her to go to church. Now, remember, this is a wife, so she goes wherever you tell her she can go.
Right.
So if she will not listen to counselors or refuses to go to counseling, then bring her to your pastor and his wife. Bring her too. Why? I don't know. Just because. If she will not listen even to them, then she has chosen to act like an unbeliever, and now she will be treated as such.
Oh God! Now she's the other.
Shit.
She's been ostracized from the community because she's not going down on you.
First of all, she's treated like an unbeliever because she doesn't want to have sex with your gross body, and 2, what's so bad about an unbeliever that you need to treat him so horribly?
No, treat her as such.
I've never heard of that said
because anything we can say is going to pale in comparison. If your wife has not repented and changed her ways after these 3 steps, you are sure to have a very angry and defiant wife. Hell yes, she's angry. You've been treating her like a fucking house slave. The little bit of sex there was in your marriage is most likely completely gone. Yeah, that's your fault, dude. You're being a dick.
Dude. Yeah, if my wife talked to me like that, and if I talked to my wife like that, she would be like, excuse me? Like, if I was like, listen, you're being angry and defiant, and I'm here to rebuke you. I'm pretty sure she's a fucking human being, so she'd be like, what? And I'd be like, it's rebuke time, and that's why I brought all your friends here, too. They're mad about you not going down on me, or whatever.
At this point, your wife will have either completely rejected her faith, or she will have at least completely rejected your church and their views of sexual denial in marriage. Good. She needs to reject both your faith and your church, because this is sexual slavery.
Yeah, and first of all, false dichotomy, not true. Like, she could be just fine with the church and not want to blow you because you're a dickhead. You run a site called Biblical Gender Roles, for God's sakes. But anyway, yeah. So it's just like, hey, one of the worst parts is it talks about her like she's a collateral damage. He's like, hey, you stick to your guns. If she leaves, she leaves. That's fine. But you do the right thing. And I'm like,
this goes back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago about how like it's the church that takes priority, not the relationship.
Yeah, blows my mind. Okay, step 4. It gets worse. It gets worse. Like,
we're only on step 3, and there's 8 steps.
Each one, you read it and you're like, oh my God. And then you read the next one, you're like, oh. And I'm laughing because it's the worst. It's like, oh man, it's like watching the 700 Club. You just can't stop laughing. Like, do I think these issues, the fact that real women are being treated like this is funny? No, it's hilarious because it's a fucking train wreck.
Yeah, so it's a travesty. The fact that people buy into this, it's terrible, but you have to laugh or you're going to cry.
It's like, oh my God, it's like watching those like fail blogs. Like, the worse it gets, you're just like, oh my God, this guy needs to shut up.
I can't turn my eyes away. What's step 4?
This one breaks my heart. Stop taking her on dates or trips. First of all, taking her on trips? Is she a fucking dog? Do you roll down the window so she can put her face out?
I just picturing that. Like, your wife's like, oh, go on a trip. And she's like circling the right in front of the doorstep.
Oh my God. Do you walk home? You're like, honey, I'm taking you on a trip this weekend. Like, what the fuck? You go on trips together with real humans. That's what happens.
You don't take her on a trip. Again, she's not a child or a pet.
Dates with each other. That's what you do. Like, if I'm like, David, I'm gonna take you out in town and take you out to eat. Wouldn't that feel condescending?
Let's
Wouldn't you be
let's
like,
not be so hasty. Let's read what he says, because maybe he
good point.
clarifies.
We're taking it out of context.
Stop taking your wife to her favorite restaurants. Stop taking her out to those movies she wants to see, because you never see movies you both want to see. It's just indulging your stupid wife. Don't take her on those weekend getaways she wants to go on. I'm not saying to stop talking to your wife. That'd be crazy. Or ignore your wife, as that is not an option for a Christian husband. But your wife does not have the all caps right for you to take her on dates or trips. These things are a privilege that you may remove at any time. Again, the last time I heard this language was when I was a child, and my parents were explaining to me that some things are privileges and some things are not.
I regularly advise this. Like, whenever parents say the weirdest shit, like, I can't get my kid to mine, and I'm like, well, what's going on? And they're like, I mean, he just plays video games all day. And I'm like, well, take him away. And they're like, can I do that? And I'm like, yeah, you can do. Are you kidding? Yeah, that's a reinforcement for some activity. Like, if he's not doing it, he doesn't get access to that reinforcer. But that's because I'm a parent. Like,
right. And the biblical rule on gender roles is that your wife is essentially your child. You have authority over her. She is a helpmeet unto you. That's why Eve was created. This is all very Christian. And you can be an enlightened liberal Christian and say, oh, you know, we're equals, you know, I'm a feminist, but that's not from the Bible. You're adding that, which is great. Please do. But you're not taking that from the Bible. The Bible is a Bronze Age text that's very patriarchal and very backwards. Just accept that. It's in the text.
Oh my God! Like, can you imagine if Amy came home? I can't even imagine, from work, and she sits down on her computer. She's like, "Where's my computer?" And I'm like, "That's a privilege that I can remove at any time." And I'm not real excited about the fact that you didn't clean up the table before you left. That's your chore. Oh my God, the shitstorm that would happen.
Like, she gets stickers every time she gives you a blowjob, and then when she gets 5, she can turn them in for some computer time.
Like a skirt or something like I don't know,
a trip to a movie that she wants to see, one of those romantic comedies.
Because that's a privilege. That's a privilege.
Not a right. Not a right.
See,
we're not making this up. Go to biblicalgenerals.com. Read this. This is a thing. Yeah. This is not. We're not straw manning the Christian position here. This is all too common, and we'll talk about
step 5.
How often we see it. But what's step 5?
This one is, again, it's an explosion of shitstorm. No unnecessary household upgrades.
Okay, that seems weird. What does he mean by that?
No, he'll tell you. Ordinarily, I am all for a husband funding things like new furniture for the house or new paint for the walls.
Okay,
a husband funding them, right?
Right, because he's the
wife, right? But there's already an assumption there. I'm like, why isn't your wife working if she wants to? I mean, stay home if you want. I don't care if both spouses do that. Just whatever. But what? But to assume that wives will come to their husbands for these and many other household things. Okay. It's your house, both of you. It's yours. You both should be coming, quote unquote, for a light bulb or something. She shouldn't be like, "Can we get a light bulb, please, for your house?" But anyway, what you need to do as a husband is,
yeah, go ahead.
Unless it's a true family need. Again, you're the divining rod here. You get to determine whether it's valid. Anyone
right, you're the head of the household.
Unless it is a true family need and not just an upgrade to something, do not allow it. So whenever she wants,
where it hurts, right? Like, she wants a new washing machine. Like, her washing machine is broken. Nope, fuck you. It's an upgrade. You don't need it. I'm not allowing it because you're not having sex.
Wow.
This goes back to like the 1800s, right? Where the woman managed the household affairs and the man like brought home the money. This is 2015. When was this blog posted? 1845?
523.
Okay, no, okay. So May 23rd, 2015. This is terrible. This is terrible.
Yeah. So 6, oh my God. They get worse. Okay, step 6. I literally had, I went like this. On my computer, the first time I read this, I go, what? Okay. Stop doing the little extra things.
Okay, that sounds horrible.
You know those dinners? You know, I'll just let him explain. He'll talk his way out of it. You know these dinners you cook? First of all, why is that? That's not a favor. Anyway, it's not a little extra thing. That's providing food for your family. Say, okay, sorry. Or that vacuum you do, or those things that really she should be doing for herself.
Oh God. No.
You know, that's really she should be doing for herself. But you have simply been trying to be nice and doing for her in all caps. Stop doing them. Stop giving her those nice back and shoulder massages she loves so much.
Oh, geez, this is so abusive. Stop being a decent human being.
What? That's not a little extra thing. That's providing food for your family, and that's both of your responsibilities. And then vacuuming, you do? Why is
It's this
I should be the
gendered,
one
it's this
vacuuming?
gendered division of labor, right? Like you work from 9 to 5. Her job is to vacuum. If you help vacuum, that's a nice extra thing you're doing. This is not the 1950s. It's not. Stop.
Wow, wow. Like, okay, that is just horrible. And beyond that, that's called getting like if you want to get your wife in the mood, right? Like a lot of it, and this is not so much for males we've seen because we can actually be turned on and have sex with someone that we're not particularly in love with, and you know, and women might be able to do this too. But generally in the research we've seen that they can turn it off pretty easily. It's you know, it's weird for guys. We don't understand that, and I'm not speaking gender roles here. This is research, and so it's weird. Like if you want to get your wife to, let's say if you want to get her in the mood, be nice to her. Don't be a dick.
Whoa.
If you're being a dick, she really won't want to do these things. Like, if just like that's weird. That's like saying like,
yeah, like functional analysis. If your end goal is having sex with your wife, this is like counterproductive to that, right? Like if you're just being an asshole, it's not going to put her in the mood. Like you're gonna like you can't moisten her vagina with a fire hose at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like if someone was like, oh well, you know, I tried everything. You know, I put like flowers on the bed or flower pots or whatever your girlfriend likes. Like not all girls like that, but you know whatever it is that your wife likes. It's all these special things she loves that you usually do on like anniversary or whatever. And he's like, I tried everything to be sweet, and she just still wasn't interested. I'd be like, well, okay, that sucks. What can you do? Like, we're not on the same clock sometimes. It's cool. She'll be interested sometime later. Just keep being nice. I wouldn't be like, well, it's time to turn it all off then.
Time to
you need to be a dick.
Time to start rebuking her and taking away the little things.
And I'll be like, well, did you get her chocolates? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, then stop. That's step 6. Stop the little extra things. That's the problem.
Did you leave her a nice note saying you loved her? Nope. Stop doing that. That'll get her in the mood.
Unnecessary. She should be leaving those notes for herself. Step 7.
Step 7 is worse. It gets worse still. It's not even at the worst yet.
Remove her funding.
Oh God, this is Saudi Arabia. Like she can't drive anywhere now. Like you're really just controlling every aspect of her life.
Stop giving her pocket money. Change your bank account. Swear to God. So her ATM card becomes worthless. Cancel your credit cards. If she does have a job, stop paying for anything in her name. What? Like her car note? And make her pay for any credit that is in her name. The Bible only requires, this is the shitstorm of the entire story. The Bible only requires that you provide her with food, clothing, and shelter. It does not say that food and clothing has to be fancy kind she likes to get.
Oh,
holy shit.
Oh, holy shit. That's terrible. The Bible is a bad book.
Or even if it's not, maybe, you know what? You know what's crazy? The Bible doesn't say you need to hug your kids, but you fucking should. Like, just, it doesn't require it, but you should want to do it. What? Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's 7 horrible steps. What if none of these 7 steps work?
Well, there's a lot of things you can do, but I love this caveat he's going to do. We'll get back to that. So the 7th one is let's get divorced, right?
Well, he talks about if she's willfully defiant after all those things. It could be for a variety of reasons. He says there's one step you could take, but you have to pray long and hard before you do. You have the option to divorce her for her sexual immorality. And I repeat, sexual immorality. Like when I say this, even as a believer, as a Christian, sexual immorality was like having an affair, right? Or sex outside of marriage. He's defining this as not having your sex with your wife. Like if she refuses sex to you, she's breaking the contract. It's sexual immorality. And according to Matthew, you can divorce your wife for sexual immorality.
Well, he talks about it too. Like here, he uses the scripture to explain why it's sexual immorality from Ephesians, the Old Testament, which is known for progressive ideas. 5:25 through 27. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her to make her holy, cleansing her with the washing of water by the word. What does it even mean? Anyway, he did this to present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or anything like that, but holy and blameless. Wait. Oh, here we go. That wasn't it. What was it? He talks about immorality right here. It says, I'm here to tell you that there's something that you can and should do. You need to call your wife's sin for exactly what it is, sexual immorality. But then if your wife does not repent, they are told they must simply learn to cope with their wife, and there's nothing else. Oh, no. damn, he makes a case for it up here. Oh, here it is. It's when from Paul from Corinthians. He says, "Oh, a wife does not have the right over her own body, but her husband does." Okay, that's really shitty, Paul. In the same way, a husband does not have the right over his own body, but his wife does. Oh, well, maybe you've made up for yourself there, Paul. Do not deprive one another sexually, except when you agree for a time to devote yourselves to prayer, then to come together again. Otherwise, Satan may tempt you to because of your lack of self-control. So, have sex with your wife so you don't screw another person. But a husband should fulfill his marital responsibility to his wife, and likewise a wife to her husband. And so this is subsumed under that, like this wifely duty. So he's saying that it's sexual immorality at that point. Because there's a proverb where he says, "Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe." First of all, what the fuck, man? You guys didn't know how to talk your way out of a paper bag. Let her breasts satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. Pretty sure that's just a nice saying. That's like a wedding toast. It's not
just random poetry. It's not like words to live by.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where he gets all this.
Oh God. Okay. So his step 8 is to divorce her for immorality. And you know what? That's the one I can get behind, because that's probably not a marriage that needs to continue. Like, that's clearly not a happy marriage. Probably should part ways.
Yep.
But wow. Okay, let's put this in context. Some people could read this and be like, wow, well, those guys are just freaks. Like, they're weird. That's not how Christians really think. You live, Jeremiah, in Mississippi. A lot of Christians there. How many percentage-wise, like, how much of Mississippi do you think is Christian?
98%, probably.
Okay, at least 98%. And what's your career? What do you do for a living?
Therapy? Well, I mean, I'm a sub-professional yet. I haven't got my license, but I do therapy.
Do a lot of what kind of therapy?
All kinds, but I seem to be pigeonholed into couples therapy. It's
okay,
like my most common. That's what they say.
Okay, so you do a lot of couples therapy. You probably treat a lot of Christians. Do you ever see this kind of stuff pop up in Mississippi?
Yes.
Is this just a random crazy guy, or is this like in the hearts and minds of people?
Well, okay, for the younger people, not so much. I've done work with some older people, and then it's really prevalent. But I mean, I would still say, I don't know, because I'm very progressive, but I have a way of talking about it in a way that's, it gets around it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about language, but I would say it's pretty prevalent. But yeah.
You read this and you think that can't possibly be the way people think nowadays. This guy's just a random nutcase. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of your in-laws, for example, will take this guy's advice over your advice, even though you have like academic credentials and this guy just has like a Bible that he's clearly mangling to make his point.
Yeah, he actually wrote something about this because of all this debate. The reason why this is getting so big, or why this became so big, is because, like anything, if people start arguing about it, it becomes big, right? And that's what people were doing. The Christians on one side were like, no, what's wrong with this? And the other side was like, what the fuck? What do you mean, what's wrong with it? And then the other side's like, well, it seems perfectly fine to me. It's good advice. And then the other side's like, oh my God, you exist. And so if there's enough people to argue about this to make this shoot right to the top of like all these kind of hot topic items. So it's obviously there's enough people willing to defend it. And
this guy has a megaphone of marital advice, whereas actual trained counselors are just kind of like, they've got their own small sphere of influence.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate the fact that like when people come in, they're like, we tried our pastor. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, I'm not going to give you spiritual advice. He should not give you psychology advice. Like, if he's giving you behavioral or mental advice, then he's wrong. That's just bad. And yes, he's allowed to do it. You can literally put up a shingle and be like, I'm a therapist. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not a protected term. But what is psychologist or what else? Counselor is a protected term. But anyway, it's so what? He calls himself that. Who cares? Your camp counselor is a counselor, quote unquote. But actually, they do have to be counseled. But anyway, the point is it's a shitstorm, mental health right now. Just don't. I don't like these guys making it worse. I wish everybody that's come to me, out of all of them, most of them have come ready for divorce or papers in hand. I have saved 100% minus one case that happened. I don't know what the percentage on them be. What, like 92% or something like that, 97%. And they've left being like that. This and just totally happy with each other. It works. It works well when it's done right. But this kind of shit is antithetical. So I just get depressed sometimes when I see this. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, these people who are reading this could have really great marriages and just be better people.
Yeah.
You're just a better person if you're not a dick like this.
But if you're basing your advice off of an archaic text, like, it doesn't work. This is the modern age. It just doesn't work. It probably never worked, but the patriarchy was strong enough that you could kind of force, sexual slavery was still a thing that was acceptable in society. Yeah. It doesn't work anymore. You got to let it go. You just got to put the Bible next to the Iliad and next to the Kama Sutra and the Epic of Gilgamesh. Put it there as like a culturally relevant mythology, and just take your advice from science when it comes to dealing with your wife.
And it's not when people say science, I'm so weird about it, because I'm like, yeah, right, science is awesome. But whenever he says it poorly, I'm like, no, science is just reality. Science is a measurement device for reality. So whenever I'm like,
scientifically acceptable, like evidence-based procedures.
Yeah, exactly. So anything science has produced is as close to reality as we're going to get. So whenever people are like, oh, science gets it messed up sometimes, I'm like, there's nothing messed up about science. We may have like measured it with it, incorrectly or suboptimally, but that's better than anything else we're using. At least it's correcting procedures. But I don't have to get off on that whole thing. I just get upset because there's real shit that helps people, and the whole idea of like scientific psychology in general. People are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's based on science. It's pretty. Doesn't seem like it should be a mind blower to be like, hey, why don't we study that? If somebody's like, I think marriages are best when you beat your wife. And then someone else is like, I think you should probably treat her like a fucking human because you expect her to treat you like a fucking human. I don't know, because you're equals. And then it seems like someone would be like, I'm gonna measure that, and we do. And guess what? I guess there's no spoiler here. So anyway, I just get upset because if these people would shut the fuck up, then when they have a larger megaphone, we'd be the sole person to go to. But
and reading the comments on this, I see so many women who are just like on board, like, okay, yeah. And I can't imagine dating like a girl like that. Like, I want to say like, I'll date a Christian. I'll date anyone, if we line up and we have similar interests and similar ethics. I don't care about your theology, but I just can't date someone who considers herself chattel. Like, it's just weird. I feel like a pedophile. Like, it's just, we're not on the same level if you put yourself in this childlike slave mentality.
Yeah. This just kills me. This kills me. But oh man, there are people in this comments that are just defending this women stuff.
Women,
it's horrible.
I don't know. It's like looking at the abolition debates and seeing black people saying like, well, the Bible's cool with slavery, so we should stop complaining. Like, it kills me to see people arguing in favor of their oppressors that way. Yeah, they had a term for that. Uncle Tom, I think, was it? There was a term for like or there was a offensive term, house N-word. Which meant like, they were acquiesced to all the things, and they, would take their beatings, without complaining. They would side with the oppressors.
Yeah, and it happened with Jews too. The capos, these in the concentration camps, they would be in charge of beating the other Jews, and that's really shitty. So like that's what I kind of see here. It's just not their fault. Like, I don't know if any of that's their fault. But what's funny is he wrote a follow-up to this. He's like, hey, apparently this took off. What the hell? Nobody ever listens to me normally. But he wrote He said, what I really thought was great was I got a lot of emails. He goes, I got two classes of emails. One saying you're totally misinterpreting the Bible and stop being a dick, right? From, you guessed it, moderates, right? Mm-hmm. He goes, then the other second class was from atheists and believers. And they both said the same thing. Thank you for not trying to make the Bible seem like an egalitarian text. He goes, because it's not. And he goes, which is true. Even the atheists can see that. And I'm like, oh. Yes, I actually love that you're not doing that. That you're not trying to make the Bible into something that it's not, which is this, peaceful text.
Yeah, they'll always complain, right? Like when I point things out about the Bible, they're like, well, you have to read it in its context. You have to understand the context it was written. I'm like, no, the context, I understand. It was the year 20 or 60 or 70, depending on the text, and people were kind of assholes because that's how things were back then. So I feel like I know the context. Like applying your 21st century morality to a first century text, that's where you're reading out of context.
Yeah, and how? Yeah, exactly. Like, is there, that's unfalsifiable? Is there any statement that can't be made okay if it's understood in context? Yeah, no, there's not. Like if somebody says, "I would rape a Jew baby, black with a black dildo" or something like that, and then you're like, "Oh my god!" and then you find out that it's a context of like someone, being like I don't know, the right person saying it at a comedy club, after following a bunch of jokes. Like Louis C.K. says the most offensive things, like women shouldn't have rights. But in the context, he says it You know, like I've heard some of the most hateful things, like women shouldn't have rights, and I'm like, see, there you go. Like, there's always a context where it could be okay. That's fine. Yeah, that's unfalsifiable. But what is it most likely? And like you said, it's written in that era. It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's we understand the context, but
Yeah,
anyway.
like, the context is clear. I mean, this was a time when slavery was legal, when women were chattel. Like, we understand the context. You're the one that's retroactively putting like a new spin on it, saying like, oh well, actually, what that means is that men and women are equal, and you just have to understand the poetic kind of literary value of it. No, that's not the case. People were kind of really misogynist, more so than they are now, and you see that reflected in the text.
Jesus. Insane.
Anyway,
But
this was fun. I'm glad biblicalgenderroles.com exists, because I think we need to shine a light on the kind of thinking and the kind of lack of thinking that the Bible kind of engenders in people.
yes. Exactly. I think that I'm really sick of these people who are trying to redistribute it with I guess package the Bible with this like moderate tone, just because Jesus, if he existed, was kind of a radical. But
yeah, it's this idea of I don't know. Bill Maher said it best. He said that just because your religion gives you some kind of comfort or some kind of like, yeah, comfort, right? Like, oh, my religion gives me comfort, I enjoy it. Like, you have to understand that that comes at a price. Like, you're giving legitimacy to these fundamentalists who are reading the text as it is, and they're drawing some sort of consolidarity by having these moderates on board.
yeah, exactly. Like that's how I always explained it, was moderates are the shield that like the the whip basically hides behind, or the sword hides behind after it stabs someone.
Yeah.
They're like terrorist bombing, and they bark back, and then like, hey, Islam is totally cool. And I'm like, yes, of course, 99.9999% of Islam or Christians are cool. I get it. And there's extremists that are dicks. Like this guy shut up the church, but it's our job to be like, hey, not cool. Just like with men, like in my experience, like 89% of men are cool, and they're like, yeah, women should have equal rights, of course. But then there's like the 9 or the 11% that are dicks, and it's our job as an 89% to be like, hey, stop being a dick, bro. That's not cool. You know, we need to stand up for women because they have power of their own, but like it's more effective to them because they see them as subhuman. So if another first-class human says stop, then well, maybe I should listen to him. So I just think everyone should stand up and say, don't be a dick. But yeah, I don't know. I think I don't agree with this camp that where people are absolving the moderates of guilt of any position. I don't absolve men of the guilt of just if they stand by when someone's harassing a woman.
If you're acting as a smokescreen, then you are part of the problem. Like, I'm sorry, I'm glad that you get aid and comfort of that, but like a mafia wife, you have to understand that that comes at a price.
Yup.
So anyway, great post, great blog. I wish we were making this up. It's a thing. People believe this way. This is when people say like, why can't you leave religion alone? Like, it's not hurting anybody. It is. It's hurting people. It's hurting women. It's hurting wives in this case. Stop. Just think critically.
Yeah. Stop making things like this. Entertainment value is awesome, but when people take it seriously, it's not awesome. So
I would love for this podcast to be irrelevant because nobody believes in fairy tales, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. Someday. Well, cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate everyone for listening in. Let us know what you think, whether it's through our email, which is the god3podcast@gmail.com, or I think we have our Facebook page up now. Oh my God, I haven't posted anything on that.
It's the old Facebook
/ God Theory Podcast, right?
Yep. Group / God Theory podcast.com. You can look us up there.
Yep. Or you can follow us on Twitter at God Theory at God Theory Pod. Podcast didn't fit, so we're just going with that. But other than that, thanks for listening in. Maybe you guys will might have caught us on some of the other podcasts we did, which was the Positive Dissent podcast, and the other one was JT was on the Atheist Avengers, and were you on that too?
I don't remember. We were doing a lot of them that week.
Yeah, and there's one more. Man, what's that last one? Can't remember. Oh well. Anyway, we were there. So hopefully we'll see you guys again next week. And thanks for tuning in.
All right.
And our faces were on this one, so you're welcome. Faces. All right. Bye.
Bye.